Can a nation call itself equal if children are divided in classrooms by the color of their skin? This was the monumental question at the heart of a case that shook America to its core in 1954. It was a question that would challenge a nearly 60-year-old legal precedent and redefine the meaning of justice for generations to come. This is the story of Brown versus the Board of Education. Our story begins in Topeka, Kansas, with a young African-American girl named Linda Brown. Every school day, Linda had to endure a long and dangerous journey to get to her school, the all-black Monroe Elementary. She had to walk through a rail yard and across a busy street, a trek that worried her parents deeply. What made this journey even more frustrating was that there was another school, Sumner Elementary, just a few blocks from her home, but Linda couldn't go there. Sumner was for white children only. Her father, Oliver Brown, was a welder and an assistant pastor. Like any parent, he wanted the best for his child. He couldn't accept a system that forced his daughter into a lesser, more dangerous path simply because of her race. He believed this was fundamentally wrong, and he decided to do something about it. With the crucial support of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, or the NAACP, Oliver Brown and a group of other concerned parents sued the Topeka Board of Education. Their argument was powerful and direct. School segregation violated the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Specifically, they pointed to the Equal Protection Clause, which guarantees that no state shall deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. But they were up against a massive legal obstacle, a Supreme Court decision from 1896 called Plessy v. Ferguson. This case had established the infamous doctrine of separate but equal. For decades, this ruling had been used to justify segregation in all areas of public life, from trains to water fountains to, of course, schools. The legal fiction was that as long as the separate facilities provided for black and white citizens were equal, segregation was perfectly constitutional. The reality, however, was almost always a different story. Facilities for African Americans were systematically underfunded, overcrowded, and inferior. The lawsuit in Kansas wasn't an isolated event. It was part of a larger, coordinated legal strategy by the NAACP. Similar cases were being fought in South Carolina, Virginia, Delaware, and Washington, D.C. Each case challenged the separate but equal doctrine in the context of public education. Recognizing the profound national importance of the issue, the U.S. Supreme Court decided to consolidate these 5 cases under one name: Brown v. Board of Education of Topeka. The stage was now set for a legal showdown that would determine the future of American society. Leading the charge for the plaintiffs was a legal titan, Thurgood Marshall. As the chief counsel for the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund, Marshall was a brilliant and tireless advocate for civil rights. He would later go on to become the first African-American justice on the Supreme Court. But in the early 1950s, he was the general leading the legal war against segregation. Marshall and his team had a monumental task. They didn't just have to argue points of law. They had to prove that the very act of separating children by race was harmful and created an inherent inequality, regardless of the physical condition of the schools. They needed to show that separate could never truly be equal. To do this, they presented not just legal arguments, but also groundbreaking social science evidence. The most famous of these were the doll tests, conducted by psychologists Dr. Kenneth and Mamie Clark. In these studies, they presented young African-American children with 2 dolls, one white and one black, and asked them a series of questions. Which doll is the nice doll? Which doll is the bad doll? And finally, which doll looks like you? The results were heartbreaking. The majority of the children identified the white doll as nice and the black doll as bad. Even more tragically, when asked which doll looked like them, many of them pointed to the black doll, sometimes with tears in their eyes. The Clarks argued that this demonstrated the deep psychological damage that segregation inflicted on black children. It taught them from a young age that they were inferior, instilling a sense of shame and damaging their self. This evidence went to the very heart of the matter. It suggested that segregation created a stigma, a badge of inferiority, that could never be erased by simply equalizing school funding or facilities. The injury was psychological and profound. The Supreme Court heard the arguments in 1952, but was deeply divided. The justices were acutely aware of the potential social and political fallout of their decision. Overturning Plessy v. Ferguson would be a seismic event, likely to be met with massive resistance, particularly in the South. They decided to rehear the case the following year. But before the case was reheard, a crucial change occurred. Chief Justice Fred Vinson, who had seemed hesitant to overturn Plessy, passed away. President Dwight D. Eisenhower appointed a new Chief Justice, Earl Warren, the former governor of California. While not known as a legal scholar, Warren possessed a strong moral compass and a keen understanding of the social implications of the law. He believed that the court needed to speak with one clear voice on this issue. He understood that a divided decision would weaken the ruling's authority and invite even more defiance. Chief Justice Warren worked tirelessly behind the scenes, using his political skills and moral persuasion to build a consensus among the Jews. He argued that the time had come for the court to correct a historic wrong. He emphasized the fundamental injustice of segregation and appealed to his colleagues' sense of duty to uphold the true meaning of the 14th Amendment. His leadership proved to be decisive. Before we reveal the historic ruling and its earth-shattering impact, make sure to subscribe to Famous Legal Cases. We dive deep into the trials and legal battles that have shaped our world, and you won't want to miss a single story. On May 17, 1954, Chief Justice Earl Warren read the unanimous opinion of the court. The chamber was silent, the nation holding its breath. His words were clear, direct, and powerful. We come then to the question presented: does segregation of children in public schools solely on the basis of race deprive the children of the minority group of equal educational opportunities? We believe that it does. He went on to address the separate but equal doctrine directly. We conclude that in the field of public education, the doctrine of separate but equal has no place. Separate educational facilities are inherently unequal. With those words, 60 years of legalized segregation in American schools was struck down. The 9-0 unanimous decision sent a clear and unequivocal message. The Constitution does not permit a system of racial caste in the nation's classrooms. T. Pless C.V. Ferguson precedent, at least as it applied to education, was officially dead. The impact of the Brown v. Board decision cannot be overstated. It was a monumental victory for the civil rights movement, providing the legal and moral foundation for the struggles that would follow. It was the legal spark that ignited a fire. It inspired activists, galvanized communities, and set the stage for landmark legislation like the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. However, the road to actual desegregation was long and difficult. The Supreme Court's ruling didn't result in the immediate integration of all schools. In a follow-up decision known as Braun 2, the court ordered that desegregation proceed with all deliberate speed, a vague phrase that many southern states used as an excuse to delay and resist. This resistance led to famous confrontations, such as the Little Rock Nine in Arkansas, where federal troops were needed to escort black students into a formerly all-white high school. The battle for true equality in education continues to this day, with debates over funding, resources, and resegregation still very much alive. But the principle established in Brown v. Board of Education remains a cornerstone of American justice. The case of Linda Brown and the countless others who fought alongside her teaches us a powerful lesson. It shows that the law is not static. It can and must evolve to reflect our highest ideals of dignity, equality, and justice. It proves that ordinary people, armed with courage and conviction, can challenge injustice and change the course of history. The fight for a more perfect union is a long one, but as Brown v. Board of Education demonstrates, it is a fight worth having. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as powerful as we did, please hit the like button. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the cases that changed the world. We'll see you next time.